The Korean War began on June 25, 1950, a war between North Korea, who had the support of China and the Soviet Union, and South Korea, who had support of the United States. East of the main supply road, strong guerrilla bands were active in the Siboney area. One of the worst incidents in this area occurred on the 6th of November, about midway between Kumchen and Siboney, when an enemy force ambushed the INR platoon and the platoon of L Company 27th Infantry, reinforced by C Battery 8th Field Artillery Platoon. The first platoon hurried to the scene at midnight and rescued several wounded and missing men, but the enemy had already disappeared. Lieutenant Harold Paris and his 15 men were questioned. When no one gave up any information, Harold was taken away from his men and further questioned, still giving no information. 3 days later, they were taken 300 yards from where they were held captive, and all were machine gunned, leaving only one survivor. Only one survived to tell the story and bravery of Lieutenant Harold and his men. Because of the brave leadership of Harold G. Paris, he was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. For my family artifact, I chose Camp Paris, an artillery compound, approximately 5 acres, located at the site of Pugnam, Korea, was dedicated on February 25, 1961, as Camp Paris. I chose to interview my grandfather, Tommy Paris, who was Harold's first cousin, about Harold and Camp Paris. As I interviewed my grandfather about Harold G. Paris, he showed me many pictures and told me many stories about Harold. He told me stories about Harold growing up and going to Franklinville, a school in our hometown, and stories of how his wife, Hilda, was awarded the Distinguished Cross Award in her backyard, which is now his house. Miss Hilda Paris was sent a letter on January 26, 1961, informing her of Camp Paris and inviting her to a memorialization service on the 25th of February. The newspapers in my town lit up with stories about Harold Paris and the story of his bravery and the legacy that he had left behind. As I interviewed my grandfather, he told me how Harold's brothers were flown to Korea along with Miss Paris for this ceremony. Harold had 2 brothers, John and Paul, both pictured above. In 2007, Paul, who Harold called his kid brother, traveled to Fort Silk, Oklahoma, where Harold was inducted into the Field Artillery Officer Candidate Hall of Fame. Paul has passed away since then, and his wife has been diagnosed with dementia, so my grandfather helped me piece this information together and let me interview him for this project. My grandfather told me many stories and helped me greatly with this project. He even told me that my father was named after Harold. Harold is a hometown hero and remembered today in my hometown and in South Korea by Camp Paris. His silence cost him his life and earned him a place in the Hall of Heroes.